Hi, this is John Harcher, and welcome to episode 13 and year 2 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. After a summer of bugs, it's time for a super September with our favorite fowl, Daffy Duck. And to kick off year 2, we'll tackle Daffy's Essential Collection. They refined it a bit from Bugs' set and actually included a couple of debuts as well.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I should have turned left at Albuquerque.
Welcome to year 2 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. Once more, thank you all for watching. I'll start doing this year. If you like what you're seeing, please hit the subscribe button below. It's only right to follow up our summer spotlight on Bugs Bunny with a slightly smaller one on Daffy Duck. Of the 4 main characters from the 30s, Porky, Daffy, Bugs, and Elmer, he was the least changed from his debut through his early appearances. But that's not to say there wasn't a slower evolution. You can see that evolution pretty clearly on the Essential Daffy Duck set released on November 1st, 2011, about a year after Bugs' Essential set. On the surface it was similar in form, but the particulars differed quite a bit. As I mentioned last episode, when I bought them a few years after they came out, Bugs' was about half the price of Daffy's. The reason likely had to do with what was chosen to represent the Essential Daffy Duck. Disc 1 kicks off with the one thing Bugs' set didn't have: a DVD debut. Porky's Duck Hunt was released on April 17, 1937, directed by Tex Avery and written by Ben Hardaway. Porky goes duck hunting and runs into a number of odd ducks, including one who's really Daffy. Not only was it the first appearance of Daffy Duck, but it was the first time Warner's new hire Mel Blanc did the voice of Porky Pig.
Hey, that wasn't in the script.
We'll go over that whole situation in a couple of episodes I'm planning for next year. Decent restoration. This black and white was primarily on the Nickelodeon show, which tended to show the old black and white tunes, or the ultra-modern to Patty Freelings, which we'll talk a little bit about next episode. Just a bit of inside baseball. The opening of the restored edition is missing a slight bit of the music. However, if you can go find the colorized version, it has the soundtrack intact. So for my own version, I snipped the sound off the beginning and plugged it onto this one. So maybe for a blue upgrade, they should think about doing that to this. Next up is Daffy Duck and Egghead, released on New Year's Day 1938, also directed by Avery and written by Hardaway. Egghead, done by Danny Webb, as he did a lot in the early days.
I wonder if there are any more hunters out here this morning.
Goes hunting and runs across Daffy. Let's face it, it's basically the same cartoon as the last one, but in color. This is sort of the harem-scarum of Daffy Duck, where the character gets a spotlight to himself. He also sings the Looney Tunes theme song, The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down.
My name is Daffy Duck. I work on a merry-go-round. The job was swell. I did quite well till the merry-go-round broke down.
This originally appeared on Golden Collection Volume 3. I think I remember seeing this on Channel 5, but I definitely remember it from TBS. The Daffy Doc was released on November 28, 1938, directed by Bob Clampett and written by Ernest G. Dr. Quack and real Quack Daffy perform an operation and try to get Porky as a patient after a hospital choice. I guess they picked this to have an early Clampett, but I'd have really preferred the later Baby Bottleneck. Now, this tune was originally on Golden Collection Volume 5, as well as an extra on the Marx Brothers Room Service DVD. The rest of the cartoons on the disc later appeared on Blu-ray, so we've discussed them all. There is one exception, but we have dealt with it already. So we'll do these briefly, and I'll tack on the dates. Plain Daffy was directed by Frank Tashlin, released on September 14, 1944. It's from Golden Collection Volume 4, and later Platinum Collection Volume 3. This is Daffy's greatest wartime tune, which is one of the greatest wartime tunes overall. The Great Piggy Bank Robbery was directed by Bob Clampett, released on July 20th, 1946, originally on Golden Collection Volume 2 and later Platinum Collection Volume 1. This is one of Bob's all-time bests, which makes it one of Daffy's all-time bests. Nasty Quacks from December 1st, 1945, originally on the Daffy Duck Superstars Frustrated Fowl collection, and later on Platinum Collection Volume 3. This is one of the ones directed by Frank Tashlin and doesn't have any credit on the cartoons because he left the studio by that point. I suppose they included this one to show how much of a nudge Daffy can be. I think Pest in the House with Daffy as the bellboy and Elmer Fudd's Hotel that we did in Platinum Collection Volume 1 is kind of much better at showing that. Book Revue, released on January 5th, 1946 from Golden Collection Volume 2 and later Platinum Collection Volume 2, another one directed by Clampett. Daffy shows up about halfway through this and immediately takes over the cartoon with his Danny Kaye impersonation. Duck Amuck was released on February 28th, 1953 from Golden Collection Volume 1 and later Platinum Collection Volume 1, directed by Chuck Jones. What's Opera Doc is to Bugs Bunny, Duck Amuck is to Daffy Duck. This defines essential Daffy Duck. Next is Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century from July 25th, 1953, also from Golden Collection Volume 1 and Platinum Collection Volume 1 by Jones. Or maybe this is the one that's like What's Opera Doc. This is a great one too, no argument that this is essential. The Scarlet Pumpernickel was released on March 4th, 1950. This is the trifecta for Golden Collection and Platinum Collection Volume 1 and Chuck Jones. Or is this the one that's like What's Opera Doc? Well, okay, it's not quite up to level of the other two, but it's an all-star cast with Daffy at the lead. Wait a minute. Shouldn't this one be before Duck Amuck? Why are so many of these out of order? Anyway. My Little Duckaroo was released on November 27th, 1954. Hey, Jimi Hendrix's 12th birthday. It's from Golden Collection Volume 6 and later Platinum Collection Volume 2. It's by Chuck Jones. This probably should have been Drip Along Daffy, which is kind of the prelude to this. I think I know why they might have picked this one. We'll discuss it in a little bit. And for completeness sake, Drip Along Daffy was released on November 17th, 1951. The only non-Blu-ray upgrade on this disc is A Star is Born by Friz Freleng, originally on Golden Collection number 5. Since they took the really good Freleng Bugs Daffy team-up on Bugs' Essential set, they picked this one from the year before for Daffy's. We did this as one of our add-on to Bugs' 80th set to complete the Freleng Showbiz trilogy. Deduce You Say was released on September 29, 1956, 2 weeks after the last cartoon. It's from Golden Collection Volume 1 and later Platinum Collection Volume 1, directed by Chuck Jones. This is one of the ones where Daffy plays a character. Honestly, I probably would have put the Super Snooper or Stupor Duck on instead of this one, but it's a really good one as well. Alibaba Bunny was originally on Golden Collection Volume 5 and later Platinum Collection Volume 2, directed by Chuck Jones. So instead of doing another of the Rabbit Duck trilogy, they go for this Bugs and Daffy team-up. I'm fine with the choice, but I also would have included rabbit seasoning. And its inclusion here is the reason why I didn't end up including it on either Bugs' 80th or the Bugs Essential disc, because it is kind of more, even though Bugs is the star, it's really one of those, it's kind of like A Star is Born. Daffy is the one who makes the whole cartoon go. Last one on the disc is Robin Hood Daffy, released on March 8th, 1958, Golden Collection Volume 3 and later Platinum Collection Volume 1 by Chuck Jones. This is really Daffy's last great masterpiece. Now, oddly enough, disc 2 is a very Duck Dodger-centric disc, so let me do first the two specials that are on as special features. They both came out in 1980. For a brief time in the late 70s and early 80s, NBC got in on the Looney Tunes action, which up until then just went back and forth between ABC and CBS. They were able to get a hold of the DePatie, Freleng, Daffy, and Speedies. Maybe they got a few of the others with the two characters, but I mainly remember the late 60s ones. Smack in the middle of that run, they aired this special with Daffy, Daffy Duck's Easter Egg-citement, aired on April 1st on NBC. This one was done by DePatie Freleng, and it shows. It's an odd mix of Looney Tunes and a Pink Panther short in the three cartoons that make up this special. The Yoke's on You with Daffy, Sylvester, and Foghorn Leghorn, Miss Prissy showing up. The Chocolate Chase with Daffy and Speedy, and Daffy Flies North, guest starring the horse from those Pink Panther cartoons. Now, the first and third ones are in the Boomerang rotation currently, but not the middle one. Poor Speedy. However, MeTV does show the Chocolate Chase on its own. Honestly, it's better than a lot of the 60s Daffy and Speedy ones. The other special is Daffy Duck's Thanks for Giving special that aired on November 20th. This one was back on CBS. When I said it's a very Duck Dodger-centric disc, I'm not kidding. You'll see in a bit. This Thanksgiving special by Chuck Jones is all about Daffy trying to get JL to let him make a sequel to the original Duck Dodgers. It has bits from the Scarlet Pumpernickel, Robin Hood Daffy, and Drip-Along Daffy, which means it really would have been excused not to have this on disc 1. But anyway. It also includes His Better Half, a not frequently shown tune at the time. It wasn't released on home video. It's here almost in its entirety. This is one we finally got in Collector's Choice Volume 1, so we've talked about it already. The special ends with, yes, the sequel to Duck Dodgers. Now, when it's shown as a tune on its own, it's another one in fairly regular cable rotation. They cut out everything with Marvin the Martian in a straitjacket and attempting to nuke the Earth. I guess that's what you got to do. Okay, now to the other stuff. The Duxorcisy was interestingly released exactly 7 years after the special, November 20th, 1987, written and directed by Greg Ford and Terry Lennon. I guess this is among the earliest ones they did. After almost 20 years, Daffy stars in his own short once again, this time playing a Ghostbusters-type guy, trying to get rid of the ghost in a possessed woman duck. It's actually kind of freaky. Night of the Living Duck is from almost exactly a year later, November 24, 1988, also written and directed by Ford and Lennon. Daffy ends up performing in front of all the most famous monsters in Hollywood and singing like Mel Torme.
Mi, 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 do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
A follow-up tune to the Duxorcisy that turned out to be the last Looney Tunes short that Mel Blanc did the voices for. These last two were edited into the feature film Daffy Duck's Quackbusters. Next up is Duck Dodgers Jr. from 1992 with a segment from the Plucky Duck Show from the Tiny Toons universe. To be honest, I don't know if we actually needed this. Superior Duck was released on August 23, 1996 in front of the film Carpool, a follow-up to both Stupor Duck and Duck Dodgers. We did this back in episode 3.5, since it was included on the bonus disc of Platinum Collection Volume 1. Chuck Jones injects a lot of fun into this, so I'm glad they included it. Duck Dodgers in Attack of the Drones is from 2004, directed by Rich Moore and written by Eric Kaplan. Duck Dodgers does Star Wars. A pretty spot-on riff of episode 2 with a nod to the Marx Brothers. Much like Hair and Loathing on the Bugs Bunny disc, I didn't even know this existed. It was part of that series of cartoons Warner's canceled after the failure of Back in Action. And like Hair and Loathing, it ended up getting released as an extra on the Australian Back in Action DVD. Next is an episode of the Duck Dodgers TV show that ran for 3 years from 2003 to 2005. In the green Loontern, Daffy ends up picking up the wrong suit from the cleaners along with that green ring. He ends up becoming one of the Corps battling Sinestro. Now, I never watched the show when it was in heavy rotation on Cartoon Network and later Boomerang. It's actually back on now on the weekends. It seems pretty inventive, so I'm glad they included this episode. I may take a look at a few more. Last up is Daffy Duck for President from 2004, directed by Spike Brent and Tony Servais, with story by Chuck Jones. Daffy decides to run for the White House, so Bugs gives him a quick rundown of what the whole process is about. Pretty much a straight-up civics lesson. I honestly wish they'd show this one a little more. It's okay. I think one of the main reasons that Daffy Essential remained more expensive than Bugs Bunny's is that Porky's Duck Hunt is on it. Also, there's a wider variety of extras on the second disc where most of Bugs's can be gotten on other Looney Tunes collections. Had these been a little more successful, one for Porky should have been in the pipeline. But a problem would have been that Porky never really got his own specials like Bugs and Daffy. So would they have gone with 24 to 30 shorts over 2 discs? Well, I took a look at IMDb and the Looney Tunes wiki fan site page, and a lot of Porky's color cartoons have already been released. Just a lot of them haven't been done up in Blu-ray yet, but they were out at the time. Well, in the end, they did something else. So, like I said, we'll deal with that next year. The idea behind the Essentials may have been good, but the problem arose when so many of these two characters' Essentials had already been released on DVD already. Maybe there was no other way around this, but it happened right around the same time they had ended the Golden Collection line, and the Superstars line started up with that cropped widescreen situation. Then, just a few years later, the entire line was shut down for all intents and purposes until the Bugs 80th set. Now, we're in a better place. Okay, to go into our alternate blue universe, what would this set look like as a 20 cartoon collection? As it turned out, I've already named the things that I would add. Pest in the House, Rabbit Seasoning, Super Snooper, and Stupid Duck. I'll hold off on adding Baby Bottleneck. It's kind of like Alibaba Bunny in that sense. We'll talk about why next year. So for a fifth, I'd add in Boston Quacky. That needs a blue upgrade anyway. I'd also swap out my Little Duckaroo with Triple Lung Daffy. Next time, we'll take a look at Frustrated Foul, Daffy's Superstars disc with more fake widescreen cartoons. I'm John Hunter. Thanks for watching.